Now, I know you said this is a class on Southern politics. Let me at least touch on that before we deal with what's ever on your minds. There was a day when Democrats could get elected at the state, national, and local level and hold fast to their conservative principles and serve honorably. I think they're still able to do that at the local level and to some degree at the state legislature. In Washington, I think the conservative Democrats going the way of the dinosaur. And you're seeing that recently. There's this Blue Dog Coalition, and they're dropping like flies. In Arkansas, Vic Snyder, Marion Barry said, I'm out of here. I cannot deal with the Pelosi Congress. In Tennessee, Bart Gordon, John Tanner, a longtime congressman, said, I cannot deal with the Pelosi Congress. I'm out of here. I can't maintain the values that I hold and serve in the Pelosi-led Congress. I'm gone. In Alabama, Jordan got big some of these putting on mine. What's the guy got big in Alabama? Parker Griffin said, look, I cannot stay in the Pelosi-led House and hold fast as a conservative Democrat. I'm out of here. You're seeing them sweep. And so, yeah, I think there's a group that calls themselves Blue Dogs, but I really believe that those that have remained believe the Pelosi agenda. The other thing that I know about the Pelosi agenda, I've served in a legislative body. I know the first vote you cast is more important than the next 2 years of votes combined. Because the first vote determines the leadership team. And you can introduce legislation all day long. You can wave it around and say, look at these great bills I introduced. But that leadership team that you put in power takes that legislation and literally decides, okay, this one goes in the trash. This one goes on the floor of the House, and we're going to work to get it passed. And so that's why that leadership vote is so important. So that's a quick summary of why I'm running for Congress, but I do a whole lot better just hear what's on your mind. Let's just talk for a little while.
We've got some students who are going to ask some questions first. Let's start with Chelsea Kaplan.
Hi.
All right, tell me where you're from. I'd like to know a little bit about it.
I'm Chelsea Gaffney. I'm a senior here at Ole Miss. I'm a public policy major, and I'm from Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Okay.
I had a question, and it concerns public education in the state. I think that, Mississippi has a long way to go before we can compete on the national level and internationally with our education system. Two flow schools are a great example. They were always kind of used as a star of the state, and recently in the accountability ratings, we all kind of got a shock that they weren't doing as well as we thought. But then we have programs like with Arnie Duncan's Department of Education, the Rates to the Top program, where the federal government provides incentives for states to change their education system in certain ways, specifically with that charter school legislation. But I'm interested to hear your opinion when it comes to federal education policy. What is the role that the federal government plays, and how would you support things like No Child Left Behind as a state representative to the federal government?
All right, in case y'all didn't hear the question, in summary is talk about what I see as the federal role in education. The one thing when I talk to teachers that they are most frustrated about is the accountability, the reporting, all the stuff that they have to do that is not face-to-face interaction with students. What I find is the further decisions are made away from the classroom, the more that stuff occurs. So if we mandate something at the state legislature, then there's going to be some reporting. When it comes out of Washington, there's a lot. And I find that there's a lot of bureaucratic resources that are wasted between the point that the decision is made and when you get to the state. Where I think we ought to put our resources is in the classroom. In fact, there's a national movement that says 65% of every education dollar needs to be spent inside the walls of the classroom, either to pay the teacher, pay for material supplies, or teacher development. I like that measuring stick. I would far prefer to see education decisions be made more locally and less at the the national level. Now, the thing that I do think is good is if we can have some kind of national universal standard. Because what I find, if you're not careful, you only compare yourselves to your neighbors. And as long as I'm better than my neighbor, I think I'm okay. And let's face it, the graduates of Mississippi schools today, Tupelo is not competing with Columbus. We're competing with India, with the Pacific Rim, and we've got to work and be smarter. There was a book that came out probably about a decade ago now by Wall Street Journal columnist Thomas Friedman, The World is Cracked. And he has a chapter in it, and he talks about all the children in America that were brought up, and when they didn't want to eat all the food on their plates, their parents talked about a child in China that wants your food. And his chapter says, there's somebody in China that wants your job. And we are competing in a global economy. So I like the idea of some kind of universal national standard, but I like that to be implemented at the local level.
Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel Willis. I'm from Memphis. I'm a senior public policy major. My question is about education as well, but a little bit of a different take. I'm working on my senior thesis, and it's on preschool. And Mississippi is one of 12 states without universal pre-K. And that's been shown to improve dropout rates, reduce teen pregnancy rates, increase or lower the rates of illiteracy. And so a lot of people are starting to think that it might be a positive move for Mississippi. But this issue tends to not be very bipartisan. Would you be supportive of a move towards pre-K in Mississippi?
Yes, I think we need pre-K. Right now, it's just a question of budgets. Being in the worst economic time since the Great Depression, we can't even fund what we have. So yes, as we begin to plan long-term, I would never be supportive of mandatory pre-K, but I would be supportive of making it available.
Thank you.
Just this weekend, I told you about my grandson. Well, Labor Day, there weren't a lot of campaign events going on, so this little boy's only 10 months old. But Sunday after church, my wife and I, they live in the Jackson area. We went down and spent a day and a half with my son and daughter-in-law. Just so happened to saw my grandson while we were there. But we knew that was the last 2-day block I was going to have from now the election. But in that day and a half, he sits in my lap. I read to him. We do all the things that child psychologists know are important for intellectual development in a 10-month-old child. But there's a number of children in this state that aren't getting that. A lot of it's driven by economics. We've got a large number of these children in this state that are being raised by single moms. They've never had a dad in the picture. And they're not getting that. So yeah, I do think we need to have some kind of availability.
Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm from Houston, Texas.
Where from Texas?
Houston, Texas.
Houston, oh.
Yes. And my question is to do with immigration. It's a big issue in Texas. And with the large amount of media coverage that Arizona Law received this summer, it kind of shed a light to everyone in America that we really do have a problem with immigration. And I was wondering, what do you think we could do to improve our process of becoming an American citizen and securing our borders? But also, if you were elected, what kind of ideas relating to immigration reform would you bring to Congress?
I think that the process of becoming a citizen is really important. America's unique. Anybody in this room could go and live in France, but you'd never ever become a Frenchman.